So this is a quick video on my very last ride. Now I know I've already done a last ride on this bike. That was when I only done 350 miles or 400 miles, something like that. So this is literally the last ride. Now I was having the Royal Enfield Meteor for 3 or 4 weeks. That's ended up in being about 7 or 8 weeks now. So I've really got to know the bike. I've put around 1100 miles on it now. Let's turn the ignition off. Well, typical, here comes a train. Saw the lines come down actually when I started. Right, try again. Okay, so yeah, I put about 1100 miles on this bike or so. Have I noticed anything that's different about the bike or things that I haven't noticed before? The easy answer to that is not particularly, no. I've had more experience with the bike now. I've ridden it in all sorts of weathers, whereas before, when I'd just done the review, I'd actually only ridden it just in sunny climates, whereas I have done a lot of, well, I've got very wet on the bike the other day. I got caught out big time. And so I was able to test the tyres a little bit more in the wet. Now obviously this is a 20 horsepower bike, so it wasn't like I was really pushing it. But it seemed okay to me. You know, I didn't get any skitty moments, or you know, I didn't feel the bike skipping around anywhere. Not that, again, I wasn't really pushing it, but still, you know, for most riders who are going to be riding this bike in the wet, then you know it's going to be absolutely fine on those tyres. Now, who's this bike going to be for? I think it's the same as what I said before. I think it's going to be brilliant for returning riders. I think it's going to be a bike they can really enjoy and very confident. And so, of course, there's another train coming through. Of course. That's a typical Exeter Rider video, isn't it? Constant interruptions. Anyway, yeah, so it's going to be great for returning riders, certainly new riders as well. But most importantly, the thing to remember with this bike is that it isn't a fast bike. And you really have to kind of get into that Royal Enfield zen to understand this bike as well. But if you do get it, then you can't beat it. There's nothing can beat this sort of the feeling that you get riding this sort of bike. Brilliantly comfortable. That seat you could literally ride on all day long, and so could your pillion. The boys have been on it a lot, my sons, and I've had 3 or 4 bikes since I've had this Enfield, the Meteor, and this is the bike which they've always lent to, and the bike that they actively wanted to go out on and go out for a ride. Brilliant for sightseeing as well. It's got that beautiful way with its, you know, low acceleration, shall we say, where it makes you look around more. You get more immersed into the countryside when you're riding this bike. So in many ways you kind of see more. I've explored more since I've had this bike, more than most other bikes which I've had in the garage. This is the bike I go on and I think, you know what, I'm going to do a U-turn here, go back and see what's down that country lane. This bike is brilliant for that. It's really good because it's, again, you know, it's so low down, it's easy to spin round, easy to handle. Now, another thing I'd like to mention was in the rain, it did spray up quite a lot. We have got decent mud guards, the wheels are well protected, and this particular model does come with the extender down there, which makes a difference. But obviously with it being chrome, when it got back I had to give it a wash because it was quite kind of muddy water that I got on the bike. So that's, you know, that's kind of what you expect really with this sort of bike, isn't it? So yeah, so I'd recommend one to anyone, but you do need to test it and do check. You know, you need to check yourself that you're okay with the power that it delivers and the speed and things like that. Riding on motorway, I've never found it a problem. It's yes, it's restricted to 70 miles an hour. Hopefully that's the last one. Yes, it's restricted to 70 miles an hour. Never bothered me. I never felt I needed more, because you adjust to it. You know, I was in lane 1. I'd get up to a lorry and I would just pop out into lane 2. I still felt like I was making progress for that reason. And yeah, so it's a lane 1 machine, but you do find yourself going into lane 2 quite often, which gives you that feeling of progress when, you know, even when overtaking lorries, you still feel like you're doing okay there. Now, while I'm on that, I want to mention as well that probably because of the relatively large wheels on the front and the back, obviously we've got a 19 on the front there, I think it's an 80, 17 on the back. Because the wheels are quite big, it is actually surprisingly comfortable on the motorway. I've done a lot more dual carriageway miles down to Torquay, places like that, and it's been brilliant for that. You know, again, it's never really bothered me that it's been restricted to 70 miles an hour, and it's been quite comfortable. But again, that is where this bike will fall down for a lot of people, is that they do want to have another 10 miles an hour more on a bike for dual carriageway work. So again, it's a bike which, if you're okay just chilling out and enjoying the scenery, then you're going to be fine. But if it's a bike, you know, if you're the type of person that really feels like you're pushing it and you want to, you know, do 80 on the motorway or whatever, then yeah, it's not going to be for you. You know, it's just not that sort of bike. Finishing wise, everything's held up really well. Obviously it's only been a shortish amount of time. I would imagine the exhaust, you know, should be okay. They are known for getting a little bit sort of oxidized on the back of the exhaust here in this area. I think the exhaust will be fine. As with all bikes, no matter where, you know, what brand it is, the catalytic converter, which is here, is normally the first thing that starts to deteriorate, and that's the same with any bike. But at least you've got the chrome exhaust, which is relatively well protected. It's a bike you can own and look at in the garage, and it hasn't bored me looking at this bike. I think it's a beautiful looking machine. If it was me, I'd probably go for the red one. Oh no, another train, of course there is. Yeah, if it was me, I'd probably go for the red one, red and black. I like this. This would be my second choice of colour. Some people have mentioned about the pinched fuel tank here, you know, the way that it's kind of stitched together and welded in, or whatever you call that, instead of just being rounded. I get that, yeah, I know what you mean. But it's a £4,200 bike, so you can live with that, can't you? And yeah, so overall it's a wonderful bike to own. I would recommend it to anyone who wants a bike which the type of person that's not in too much of a rush, just wants to chill out and enjoy the ride, see scenery, go exploring, pillion riding as well. If you're thinking, well, is it going to be enough to pull a pillion? Definitely yes. It's really strong, really stable, and there's still enough power there. Right up to 60 miles an hour, I would say you're going to be fine. You wouldn't want to do too much dual carriageway work, I would say, on this bike with a pillion. However, for me, I found it fine being on my own. You know, just me solo riding on the dual carriageway. It wasn't a problem at all. So all that's left to be said is thank you very, very much to Royal Enfield for letting me have the bike for longer than what I thought it was going to be. Really appreciate it. I've had so many good times on this bike. Dartmoor, Torquay, Teignmouth, can't remember where I went now, but it's been my go-to bike for quite a while now, and everybody knows how much I like this bike. Yes, the suspension on the back has always bothered me. I have made a video about a suspension fix for this. I'm not sure if you've seen that yet. If you haven't, then I'll leave it up at the end of the video. That's the only thing which I can pin down on this bike. So if you've got any questions, then drop them in the comments at the end. Thanks very much for watching, and thanks again for the loan of the bike, Royal Enfield, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheerio.